Yes, my recording has been started. I hope that my voice is clear to everyone. Uh, so, in this semester, I am going to teach you a very interesting subject, and most of you can say that it's a programming language, which is nothing but an introduction of your object-oriented concept or object-oriented programming concept, along with the implementation of the C++ language. Okay, so you can say it as a you can call it as a C++ programming, or you can call it as a starting footstep of object-oriented concept, object-oriented programming. Okay, so I believe that those who are interested to learn the object-oriented programming, or those who are interested to grip their concepts, to improve their concept in object-oriented programming language, they can start with the concept of this C++ before they are going to start with Java or Python. I don't say that there is a relationship between C++ and Java. That means if you want to learn Java or Python, you have to learn C++. I am not trying to say these things. Okay, the concept of Java is different. The concept of the Python programming is different. Different means you can learn those subjects, those programming languages, Java, Python, independently without having any concept of C++. That I ensured it. But the thing is that all are this Java, C++, and Python, or any other kind of like your ASP.NET. Okay, any kind of this kind of language which are very popular nowadays, all are object-oriented programming language, right? So if the C++ is the starting of all these languages, it's the first language, object-oriented programming language, which was introduced. Okay, or you can say which are popularly commercialized and introduced in the market, C++, and it was introduced far before than Java and Python. When they were popular, it was introduced before that Java and Python. So I think your conception will be built if you are going to learn the C++ subject before the other object-oriented programming languages. C is the basic one. So I think I have already shared the message to your group that you have to revise the C programming before appearing for today's class, or C++ class. So those who couldn't do it, so I insist that before appearing in the next, we have our class on Friday. Thursday is a holiday, so we have our class on Friday. So before starting the next class, I insist all of you to revise the C programming. Those who forget some portion of the C programming, some topics of the C programming, they must revise it. It will be helpful for you to understand the concept of object-oriented programming or C++ programming easily. Okay, if you revise it, especially you will revise the chapters of arrays, you will revise the chapter of functions, pointers, structures. Okay, so these are the chapters if you are going to revise, and the basics of C programming like variables, identifiers, all the basics, looping, structuring, all these basics. So it will help. It will be very helpful for you. Okay. So I want to know from your end, how many of you have some idea about C++, or you have already know about C++? I think in some of the schools in class 11, 12, they have the C++ in their syllabus. Okay, so raise hand. Tirthajyoti raise hand. Shanket raise hand. Ritik Paul, Ayush Kumar. So they have some idea about C++ or ITRO, right? Good, very good. So I hope that many of you have some idea about C++, but we will learn the C++ in some different way. Okay, we will learn it with the help of some object-oriented concepts, right? So I hope that those who have some idea, they can help their friends, they can help me as well to if we will start in some portion, some concepts. If we are not going to solve it, then they can help us. Okay, it will be a great teamwork if we are going with all of you. Okay, so let me share the screen first. If you have the idea of 1 second, just 1 second. Huh? I'm sharing the screen. Everyone look at the screen. Just 1 second. Okay. So everyone, please be ready with your notebook, because in some of the cases I will discuss some of the important points. So everyone, please be ready with your notebook. Okay. Just 1 second. Just 1 second. Okay, I think the screen is visible to everyone. Is it right? Is it visible to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Very good. Okay. Before we will learn about C++, we'll have to know what is object-oriented programming concept, and how the object-oriented programming concept is differ from a procedural programming concept that we have already learned in our previous languages like C. Okay. So C++ is an object-oriented programming language that till now we have learned these things. We know these things, that C++ is an object-oriented programming language created by the creator of the C++ name is Jarne Strausstraps. Okay, this B pronunciation cannot be is not there. So you are going to pronounce his first name as Jarne. Okay, Jarne Strausstrup. Name is, the pronunciation is quite difficult, and he developed the concept of C++ in the year of 1983 at Bell Labs. The Java was developed by James Gosling. The concept of Java was developed by James Gosling in the year of 1991. So you understand, almost 7 to 8 years before the C++ concept was developed. And Bell Labs was one of the famous lab in London, where most of the programming language concept has been developed. Okay, C, C++, most of the programming, even Unix. Unix concept has been also built and implemented or developed in this Bell Lab, because Unix mostly developed with the help of the programming language C. Okay, 70% of the code of the Unix operating system is developed with the programming language of C. Okay, so C++ is an extension of C programming, and the programs written in C language can run in C++ compiler. Okay, so this Jarne Strausstrup, this guy is actually a very you can say a blind supporter of two language, or a strong supporter of two language before C++. One is Simula 67, another language was C. Okay, two language, Simula 67. Simula 67 is another one kind of procedural programming language, okay, which was not so popular, but he was a strong supporter of those two language. Okay, the before C++, he actually used to work with those two languages, C and Simula 67. Now, to do some kind of project, he needs to require the use of, or the development of another important language, which actually combine both this Simula 67 and the C programming language, and he wants to create a more powerful language than this C and Simula 67, and then he was first introduced the concept of object-oriented programming features, and he was given the name of that language was C++. But actually the name of the language that Jarne Strausstrup was given is C with classes. C with classes. Okay. Class and object these two are the major concepts, or you can say the basic building blocks of any object-oriented programming language, class and object. Okay, so that's why C++ was the first object-oriented programming language developed by this person, Ernest Strausstrap. Okay, and that's why he had given the name of this new language as C with classes. Before C++, C with classes. Okay, but when he has given the name of that language C with classes, it was later changed. It was actually mapped with some other kind of things that name was not actually accepted by the standardized committee. So in the latter 1983, means at the end of this year of 1983, this name C with classes has been changed, or was changed to a new name, that is C++. So I think all of you have the idea of this operator plus plus. You have already learned C programming. What is the name of this operator?
Increment operator.
Increment operator. That means you have some old features of C which will be incremented or added with some new features. That's why this plus plus operator concept has been added to represent the name of C++. That means you already have a C features in that programming language, and as well as you are going to add some extra features which make this programming language more powerful than C programming language. That's why this plus plus means increment, something is going to be incremented, right? So here the C programming is going to be incremented with some more powerful features of object-oriented features, and that's why the new name of this language, instead of C with classes, it will give C++. Okay. And around in 1997, it has been standardized by the ANSI, an ISO standard, that ANSI in the same way ANSI C++. Okay, because ANSI C have already know. Okay, ANSI is American National Standard Institute, which will actually standardize all these programming languages, even C, Java, all these languages. So C++ was standardized in the year of 1997. In the end of 1997, you can say, better to say. Okay. So I think this conception is clear to you. Let's show you this diagram. So this is a Venn diagram. I think all of you have a concept of the Venn diagram. Okay. The Venn diagram is nothing but represents with the help of some kind of oval or circles, and it will give you the conception of superset, subset, this kind of conception. Okay. So can anyone tell me the relationship here from this Venn diagram? I think the Venn diagram is visible to everyone. Can anyone tell me what is the relationship you are getting through it? C programming, C++, and Java. What kind of relationship you are getting with the help of this diagram? Any idea? Anyone can try. Any one of you can try. What kind of relationship among these three languages, C programming, C++, and Java, you will get, or you are getting from this Venn diagram? Any idea?
Like both languages are connected to, means developed to each other. Like in C++, we use so many things that comes through C, and in Java we use object oriented like structure and union from C++, like that. Like
Okay.
Like that.
Okay. Okay. The good try. Good try. So first,
Sir, hello.
bolo.
Sir, whole C programming concept is covered in C++, and a little bit of Java is also covered in C++, like object-oriented part and like that.
Okay.
But a lot of Java features are not included in C++.
Right. Right. Very good. Very good. So let's start with the right-hand side diagram. Okay. Let's forget about Java. Let's start with this diagram. So C programming is our basic programming, and C++ is working as a superset of C. Okay, so C++ is working as a superset of C. If you remember this diagram, you don't need to learn or don't need to remember any theory. Okay, because these things you will get in several books in the form of theory. Okay, but you will never get this diagram in any book. Okay, so this C programming is actually a subset of C++, or you can say C++ is a superset of C programming. That means whatever features the C programming have, or you have learned in the previous semester, whatever features, it may be a pointer, it may be structure, it may be functions, whatever procedure-oriented language like C++, like C programming have, the C++ also contains a similar kind of features. Clear? So C++ has all kind of identifier that C have. C++ has all kind of concept like function, structure, arrays, pointers that C programming has. Clear? So that's why C++ is called a superset of C. Okay, but some features that C++ have that C programming does not have. That's why it's a superset, and that those features are called object-oriented features that C++ have, but C programming does not have. What are those features? Every object-oriented, listen very carefully. Proত্যেকে শোনো. If you have any kind of doubt, any kind of question, please ask me. Okay, because what I'm going to teach you, you will never get these things in any book. Okay, so object-oriented OOPS. OOPS full form. What is the full form of OOPS? Object-oriented programming. S for structure. Okay, object-oriented programming. This small s for structure. OOPS is written in such a fashion: capital O, capital P, and this S is small. Okay, object-oriented programming structure. So every object-oriented programming language which actually follow the object-oriented programming structure must follow this principle, PI principle. Okay, every object-oriented programming must follow this PI principle. Okay, every object-oriented. It may be a Python, it may be a Java, it may be a C++. Every object-oriented programming must follow this PI principle. Okay. Now, what is the full form of PI principle? Obviously, it has some full form. Each and every letter of PI will represent some sort of concept or some sort of features that every object-oriented programming must have. Okay. So P represents polymorphism. We will discuss each and every features in future. Okay. Don't worry. I represents inheritance, and E represents encapsulation. Okay. These three features makes an object-oriented programming a very, very powerful language. Okay, so each and every object-oriented programming must follow this PI principle. You have to understand these things, remember these things throughout your life. Okay, every object-oriented programming must follow this PI principle. The object-oriented programming or the object-oriented language which does not follow this PI principle, you cannot call it as a object-oriented programming language. Okay, it must have to follow the concept of PI, the concept of class and object, as well as the PI principle. It's very, very important. Now there are some language in the market like Visual Basic. Visual Basic. Has anyone done or practiced this language ever? Or have some idea any of this language ever? Visual Basic.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so those who have some idea, okay, they know that in Visual Basic we are using the concept of class and objects. We will use, and we are using it. Okay, those who don't have an idea, they also listen. Okay, in Visual Basic is also a very one of the popular programming language, you can say. And Visual Basic language, we have an idea of class and object, but Visual Basic language will not call as object-oriented programming language. It is called as object-based language. In interview, this kind of question is asking several times. What is the difference between object-based language and object-oriented programming language? What is the difference between object-based language and object-oriented programming language, right? So Visual Basic is a object-based language. It is not called as object-oriented programming language. Now, what is the difference between this Visual Basic and this C++ or Java, which are object-oriented programming language? Because Visual Basic also follows the concept of class and object. You can create a class, you can create an object in Visual Basic, just like Java and C++. But we cannot call it as an object-oriented programming language. Why? Because Visual Basic does not follow the pi principle. It does not have the concept of this pi principle in Visual Basic. It is not there. That's why it is called object-based programming language. In interview, multiple times this question has been asked, that what is the difference between object-based programming language and object-oriented language. Okay, and give one examples of each of it. Okay, so you have to understand the concept, why it is not called object-based, object-oriented. Okay, why it is called object-based language. Okay, I think the conception is clear to everyone, right? So here, from here, you can understand the C++ has all the features that C programming has, but it also has some extra features that an object-oriented programming language have, and the features are class and object as well as this pi. Okay, now let's come into the concept of Java. So in Java, you will see very few portions are mapped with C programming and C++. Very few portions have been mapped with C programming and C++. So you can say Java is partially dependent on C++ or C programming and C programming. It's not fully dependent. Okay, it's partially dependent. Right? So from this Venn diagram, one thing we can conclude, one another question that interviewer will ask very frequently, why C++ is called a partial object oriented programming language, PL means programming language, and why Java is called a fully or 100% object oriented programming language. That is a very basic question. Sometimes the interview will ask. This question has various kind of you can say various kind of logic or various kind of justifications are lying behind of it, and some of them have been criticize it that this statement is not correct for in every cases. But sometimes this question has been asked by the interviewer. If you will search the internet, you will get this question multiple times, that why C++ is called object-oriented programming language and why partial object-oriented, and why Java is called fully object-oriented or 100%. Actually, Java is a pure object-oriented programming language or fully or 100%. Why? Because Java follows very few features of the C programming, that is procedural programming language. Mostly Java follows most features of the object-oriented programming language, whereas C++ follows all the C programming concept, that means procedural programming concept, as well as object-oriented programming concept. That's why it's a mixing type. Okay, it's a mixing type. You can say it's a mixing type. It follows all the features of C programming. That means if some portion it is a procedural language, and it also follows object-oriented programming features. So in some portion it is object-oriented programming language. That's why it is called a hybrid kind of language. C++ is called a hybrid kind of language which follows both the features of the procedural programming language as well as object-oriented programming language. And the most important thing that differ these two concepts or justify these two concepts is that in C++ you may not use the concept of class and object to implement a program. Let's check one program in front of you. This is one program of C++. I have written for you, right? This is a C++ compiler. In last semester, we have used the same compiler. Okay, so only .c instead of .c. Here, the extension of the program should be .cpp. CPP means C++. .cpp. CPP means C++. These are dev C++ software. Okay, you can use any software of C++ to run this program. So in this program, try to understand the concept. Can anyone tell me here in this program, have I used any concept of class and object?
No.
Have I written any kind of word like class?
No,
We
sir.
are not. Yes, we are not written any kind of. Yes, so that's why it is called a partial object-oriented programming language or are not pure. Okay, it is a hybrid kind of language. So it is just written just like a C. It is written just like a C programming language. If you run this code, the code is running very fine. Okay. Clear? Now let's check another C++ program. This is another C++ program. Here I am using the concept of class. Okay. So understand the difference. But in case of Java, we cannot write this kind of program. We have
Yes, whether we
to have,
public.
yes, we have to have used the concept of class and object. Without class and object, Java does not understand anything. Without class and object, Java does not understand anything. That's why Java is called a fully or a pure object-oriented programming language. Is the concept is clear to everyone? Java code time muto dekhachi na. I don't want to show you Java code right now. But those who learn Java, who know Java, just one thing you should know: Java code cannot be written without the help of class and object. It always follows the concept of class and object. Okay, but C++ code can be written without defining any kind of class and object. Is it clear to everyone? Is the difference clear to everyone? Is this Venn diagram clear to everyone?
Yes, sir.
If anyone has any question, you can ask, no problem. Okay, try to understand. These conceptions are very, very important. These conceptions are very, very important because interviewer will ask a question from all these conceptions. Okay, they are not going to give you a direct program to write. Okay, they will ask very tricky questions. Okay, and mostly the questions can be asked from procedural programming language or object-oriented programming language. Okay, so let me tell you the difference between procedural-oriented programming language and object-oriented programming language. Okay, so right now I think you can have the you can have the differences between these two. So a procedural programming language definition is this one. The definition is very clear to you. Why it is called procedural? Because we can divide the entire program into number of small procedures or functions or routines or subroutines, whatever you say, and simply consist of a series of computational steps to be carried out. During a program execution, any given procedure might be called at any point, including by other procedure itself. Okay, so one procedure can call another procedure, which we have already seen in case of C programming. Okay, that means from within one function, you are able to call another function, or within one subroutine, you are able to call another subroutine. Not always that you can call a function from a main function. Okay, so any function can call other function in a program. Okay, that we have already seen in our C programming. Now let's check. These are the example of some C programming. Some procedure-oriented programming languages like Fortran, Algol, COBOL, BASIC, Pascal, and C. Among all these languages, C was the most popular language. Okay, and mostly used and commercialized language. Okay. Now, object-oriented programming language. Object-oriented programming can be defined as a programming model which is based upon the concept of objects. Okay, so everything is based on the concept of objects. Now you will say, what is objects? Objects can be anything which has some physical existency, and these objects, you can match the concept of objects with the real world. That's why it's sometimes called C programming or procedure-oriented programming is generally follows some kind of unreal world. Look, here it is written. Procedural programming is based on unreal world, whereas object-oriented programming is based on the concept of real world, because objects has the concept to represent the real world entity which occupies some kind of space. Now, from your real world entity, suppose we can say a table can be an object, a chair can be an object, a house can be an object, a person can be an object. Anything, it may be a living or a non-living thing. Anything can be an object which occupies some space in the real world. Okay, it occupies some space into your earth, into the volume of the earth. Okay, into the gravitation of the earth. Now, in the similar way, if we implement the same object concept in your computer system, it will occupy some memory space of your computer system. Okay, so that is a object. That is a very simple definition of an object. Now, object is sometimes called a instance of a class. Everyone listen very carefully. Objects are sometimes called instance of a class or an example of a class. Let me show you the concept. Suppose we have a class fruit. Okay, we have a class fruit, right? What are the what may be the objects of those fruit class? So fruit can be represented as a class. Fruit can be represented as a class. So object of that fruit class can be orange, or an apple, or a banana, okay, and so on. So any one of the fruits can be the object of this class. Try to understand very carefully. This concept is very, very interesting, and lots of questions an interview will ask from this concept. Try to understand. Okay. Suppose there is a table in the middle of a class. Suppose I am taking you a physical class, and there is a table in the middle of a class, and over the table there is a fruit basket. Over the table there is a fruit basket, okay, and the fruit basket are filled with different kind of fruits: orange, apple, banana, different kind of fruits are there. Now, if I will ask, suppose I will ask Tirthajyoti, Tirthajyoti, can you take one fruit for me? So what?
Orange.
Yes. What Tirthajyoti will do? Tirthajyoti will get confused. Sir, which fruit do you want? There are lots of fruits are there in the fruit basket: orange, apple, banana. It may be possible I don't like all the fruit. It is obvious that I don't like all the fruits. I like, suppose, apple. But if I will not mention that, Tirthajyoti, please bring apple from the fruit basket to me, then Tirthajyoti cannot do any work with that command that I have given to him. That Tirthajyoti take one fruit from me, for me. He cannot do anything. He will do nothing, because he will get confused which fruit he will bring. So try to understand what I am trying to say, that fruit is a class, which is actually staying on the fruit basket. Fruit is a class, right? So it has no physical existency. It has a virtual concept. Is it so? It is a virtual concept. Why? Because when I will ask Tirthajyoti to bring fruit for me, he will get confused. But sir, fruit doesn't exist. Why fruit doesn't exist? Because fruit has some name. If you signify any fruit directly, like banana, orange, or apple, then it is easier for me to collect that fruit for you. But if you don't signify, then what fruit should I bring? I am very much confused. It is a very obvious concept, right? Suppose if I will ask, suppose I will ask some other guy to hire a vehicle for me. Go to the main road, VIP road, and hire a vehicle for me. Then what he will hire? Is he hire an auto for me? Is he hire a taxi for me? Is he hire a bus for me? So it is a big confusion. So vehicle is a class. When I will ask the people to hire a vehicle, so vehicle is a class which doesn't have any physical concept. It is a virtual concept. You will understand the concepts, but you cannot physically implement that concept. Am I clear to everyone? Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Anyone has any confusion? Now, can anyone tell me then what these things belongs to? Orange, apple, banana. It has some physical concept. So what is the name of these things?
Object.
Object. Very good. Objects. So I think your conception is clear. Object is a physical concept which occupy some space in the real world. It may be a fruit. So if I will ask Tirthajyoti to bring an orange, he can easily go towards the fruit basket, specify, yes, this is an orange by its color and shape, and it will occupy some space in the fruit basket, and then he will bring that orange to me. If I will specify that guy to bring a taxi for me, then he can easily go to the main road and hire a taxi for me. So because taxi is an object and which will occupy some space in the main road of the real world. Okay. In the similar way, Let's tell me, any one of you, if I will write these things, int a, I think all of you are familiar with these things. Int a, int means integer data type, and a means the variable of this data type. Can anyone tell me in this case which one is object and which one is class?
In this class, A is class and A is the object.
Yes, integer is a class, int is a class, and a is the object of that class. বুঝতে পারলে? When you will write int in the computer system in C programming, does it occupy any memory space? No. Yes, it will never occupy any memory space. But while you will write int a, obviously it will occupy a memory space. It may be a 4-byte or 2-byte as per the architecture of your system. It will occupy the memory space for this variable a. That is the difference between class and object. I think the conception is clear to everyone. Many books has been written several things, but conception is of many students not clear. What is class and object? So can anyone tell me one class can have multiple objects or one class can have only one object? What do you think?
So multiple objects.
Okay, very good. So this is another question that interviewer will ask. One class can have multiple objects, but one object should belong to a single class. Justify this statement. Okay, this is a very common question. One class must have multiple objects, may have, not must have, may have multiple objects, but one object should belong to a single class. Like orange, apple, banana, these are the multiple objects that belongs to a class fruit. But orange must belong to the class fruit. Orange cannot have any other class. Like orange does not belong to a vehicle class, or orange does not belong to some other classes. Okay, it always belongs to a single class, that is fruit. So that's why one object must have a single class. This is the overall concept of class and object. If you understand these things, you will never forget the conception of class and object. Right. So let's start with the more differences between object-oriented and procedural-oriented. Procedural language is mainly given its importance on functions. What I have already told that procedure means subroutines or functions. So it will mainly given its importance or focus to the functions instead of objects. Whereas object-oriented programming gives more focus or more importance to the objects or data, whatever we will say. And there is no access specifier exists in procedural programming language, and in object-oriented programming language there has been some access specifiers like private, public. Now what are these access specifiers that I will discuss in future classes. Okay, right now just need to know that procedural programming does not have any access specifier, whereas object-oriented programming has some access specifier. Okay, what is the job of the access specifier? It's a very important job they have, and we will discuss that job in future classes. Okay. Procedural, this is another importance, that's why the procedural programming is more powerful or more popular compared to procedural programming language. Okay, procedural programming language is less secure, whereas object-oriented programming language is more secure. Okay, and the security is actually achieved with the conception of this encapsulation, data hiding, okay, abstraction. By the help of these properties, object-oriented programming has can implement more security compared to procedural programming language, because these properties are not present in case of procedural programming language. These properties are absent in procedural programming language. That's why it is less secure than object-oriented programming language. I will discuss each and every of this property in future classes. Okay, don't worry about it. Okay, and the last difference, which is very, very important from the design point of view or design approach point of view, these are the two differences. It is very, very important. Most of the books does not cover these two differences. That procedural programming follows a top-down approach, whereas object-oriented programming follows a bottom-up approach. Procedural programming follows a top-down approach, whereas object-oriented programming follows a bottom-up approach. Can anyone give some light on it? What is the difference? What do you understand? Top-down approach and bottom-up approach. What do you understand by it? Top-down approach and bottom-up approach. Anyone? This is the difference from design point of view. How you will design a program or a language. How you will design it. So from that design point of view, you can make a difference. Okay, let's give me an explanation of it. So top-down approach means you will in this procedural language you will first have the entire concepts. Okay, that means you will have to first understand the requirement of the customer or the entire algorithm first. Suppose you are performing the operation of bubble sorting, right? And I think all of you know what are the main two functions we are using for bubble sorting. One is comparison, second one is swapping. One is comparison, second one is swapping. I think all of you remember it. Okay. So these are the two sub-functions or subroutines or functions that we are using in bubble sort, right? Comparison and swapping. Now, in case of procedural programming language, you will have to first understand the entire bubble sort algorithm, then break down the algorithm into two sub-functions. One is for comparison, and the sub-function is for swapping, right? And then at the end, whatever result you will get, then at the end, you will integrate that results, okay? But in case of object-oriented programming, you will have to first implement those two sub-functions without understanding the entire algorithm. Without understanding the entire algorithm, you will have to first implement the two sub-functions. That means first you are going to implement the swap function, and then you are going to implement the comparison function. And then you are going to integrate those two functions from bottom to top. So that's why it's called bottom-up approach. So you are looking that approach, design approach from bottom to top instead of top to bottom. So in case of procedural language, you will have to first understand the bubble sort algorithm, then divide the algorithm into two sub-functions, swapping and comparison. But in case of object-oriented programming language, in case of bottom-up approach, you have to first implement swapping and comparison, then integrate the results of those two sub-functions to build the entire algorithm of bubble sort. That is the difference between top-down approach and bottom-up approach. Is it clear to everyone? Is it clear to everyone?
Yes.
So, so we mostly follows this top-down approach. We mostly follows to understand any program in this top-down approach in our mind, okay, rather than bottom-up approach. But remember that every object-oriented programming language, C++, Java, their compiler at the back end always follows the concept of bottom-up approach. Okay, always follow. It has some advantages. Okay, it has some advantages of reusing the same modules for the other programs. Okay, it has those advantages of bottom-up. Bottom-up approach is more advantageous than top-down approach. Okay, so these are the discussion that I will have to stop here of today's discussion, and I want to show you one small video. In the next class, we will start with a program. Let's check this video. Is the sound coming to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, we will already have running out of time. Okay, so I will share this link to your group. Okay, I will all of you please see this video. Okay. Okay, I am taking the roll numbers. So everyone please be response. And one thing I want to make it clear, those who are present today, give your attendance very carefully, okay? Because after this class, I'm not going to take any request to update the attendance, okay? So if you have any problem, you can SMS me. I will update your attendance right now. Okay? Shomuruk Ghosh.
Yes, sir, present.
Okay, Abdul Naim.
Present, sir.
Ritu Mahato.
Present, sir.
Orpon Mondol.
Present, sir.
Shani Ghotok.
Present, sir.
One second, let me stop the record.